Hello everyone and welcome to part 21 of my F1 22 driver career mode here now with Mercedes after we finally got promoted to the main team for Season 3. If you haven't seen the pre-season video before this, make sure to go check that out so you're up to date with all the driver changes and even team changes heading into the third season of our career mode. Obviously heading into this one there's no standings or anything to check out as it is the first round of the season, which will be at our home Grand Prix in Australia. In terms of the pecking order heading into Season 3, Ferrari are the top team ahead of Red Bull. Ourselves and Mercedes, we've actually closed in on those top guys, which is very good for us. That'll hopefully help us in our championship battle. McLaren have also actually closed up to us, so now the field's sort of starting to spread into two different groups, but you'll notice the performance chart is very zoomed in, even compared to last season now, where there was a spread of about 500 performance points. This season it's only 200, just to show how close the entire field is with each other, which should make for some very exciting races. You can see heading into this season, Ford Performance have jumped up a few positions in the pecking order there with that new budget that those guys are bringing to the table. Williams unfortunately stayed in the midfield as we head into our home Grand Prix. A very exciting prospect. Australia finally the first round of the season once again here in Formula 1 for my home Grand Prix. Quite exciting as I'm just hopefully this time out we can actually finish the race. The first two seasons we've had something go wrong where we haven't finished the race, so now hopefully with the top team we can change that. Let's get to the grid rundown now for the Australian Grand Prix.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. A fantastic effort from Pierre Gasly yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Norris, Charles Leclerc and Verstappen, Magnussen, Benjamin, Russell and Carlos Sainz, Ocon, Perez, Daniel Ricciardo and Albon, Mick Schumacher, Tsunoda, Robert Schwartzman and Lance Stroll, Joe and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
I know this is your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Let's not make any unnecessary risks.
So here we are lining up in P8 on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix. Not quite where I was expecting. I was expecting to be a bit further up, but again, going to show how close the whole field is now that the midfield cars are sort of starting to displace the top teams. We've got Kevin Magnussen in the Ford in their first race. They are in P7 there with Magnussen, so a great qualifying from them. Russell is behind us in P9 there. So for us here at Mercedes, not the greatest qualifying session. You've got Pierre Gasly doing a great job to be on pole for his first race on his return to Red Bull. Hamilton also going back to McLaren, he's in P2. So really cool to see how this is all shaping up with people changing to different teams and teams' performance changing and the entire field just different to where it is. Alonso also outperforming Leclerc was a bit unexpected for myself, but clearly he's enjoying that Ferrari on his return to the Ferrari team. So a lot of people are returning to teams and having some good luck, so very good to see, and it'll be so interesting to see how this race now plays out as we sit here on the grid. 5 red lights and we are underway for the Australian Grand Prix. It's not a great start from myself, unfortunately, just a bit too much wheel spin, and so Russell straight ahead of us here. We've also got Esteban Ocon in the Alpine coming to our outside. We're going to hold the inside on him there, and we do get the move back onto P9, and then Russell going very slow there because Lando starting on the medium tyres had a bit of a poor run through turn 2, so we get back ahead of our teammate. We're now looking to the outside of Lando, but he dives it on Magnussen, isn't able to get the move done, so we keep it alongside the McLaren inside for turn 4. We get the move into P7, and so in the end there we actually end up making a spot off the race start after our initial really poor launch, so very lucky there to have had that outcome. Russell ends up staying in P9. Lando though has lost a bunch of spots. Ocon now has got ahead of the McLaren. Lando qualified in P4 and now finds himself down in P10, so those mediums have not worked out whatsoever for the McLaren as he's just tumbled straight down the order. A couple other cars started on the mediums as well, but the majority of the field starting on the soft compound tyre, because in Season 3 here, at least around Albert Park, it certainly seems possible to be going from the softs to the hards to get to the end of the race, but it's now just on us to focus on closing in on Magnussen and trying to get a move done on the Ford for P6. He's doing an incredible job there in the new team on the grid, but as we head now onto lap number 2, down the back straight, we're going to fly past the Ford. Some great straight line speed here. I'm not sure if that's due to setup or maybe the Ford engine just not quite up to spec at the moment, but that does get us into P6 there. We actually set a purple second sector as well, and so it was definitely a quick second sector for us regardless, but that is us into P6, and we're now going to try chase down the top pack here of 5 cars and make it a 6-car pack, and we close right in on the back of Max Verstappen there in the braking zone. And I've got to say, it is such a breath of fresh air to finally be in a car that can properly run with the top guys. As we look back at this massive pack, there's a spin for Zhou Guanyu there, and the Alpha has actually made contact with Latifi, and so there's damage there for both the Alpha and Marius, and that causes a virtual safety car, so that will neutralize the field for a little bit here as we head on to lap number 3, and we'll look at an order check of what is happening now, as Pierre Gasly has kept the lead of the race there, holding on to first place from the start of the Grand Prix. Hamilton has also held on to P2, and so Hamilton seeming pretty comfortable there in the McLaren, and Fernando Alonso in P3 ahead of Charles Leclerc in P4, so the two Ferraris doing quite well, and still Fernando ahead of Charles Leclerc. Verstappen sitting in P5 has dropped quite a bit down, the reigning champion, from where he would have expected to be after a pretty dominant season last time out in Season 2. He's now finding himself down in P5 with a lot of work to do ahead of him, and then it's ourselves in P6 just behind him. Kevin Magnussen, as I already said, doing very well in the Ford. I'm sure he'll be loving that. The team will be loving that, to see that straight away from the start of the season they could be capable of scoring some good points. Russell, our teammate, struggling a little bit here at the start of the race, down in P8, so he has made up one spot. But for now, he's still right down the bottom of the points. Ocon in P9. Lando still finds himself in P10, so at least he hasn't dropped out of the points. But I'm sure, well, I don't know exactly what the strategy is. I don't know if they're maybe banking on everyone else having to do a 2-stop. But at the moment, that is not the plan, as we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix here onto lap number 5, obviously, as we set onto lap number 4 at the end of the virtual safety car. So a whole train of cars setting fastest laps, and actually the cars behind us not able to do it. So for now, we hold on to that extra bonus point. I'm sure that will come down a bit later on in the race. So as we head on to lap 6, we are all over the back of the Red Bull of the reigning champion Max Verstappen. We've got the DRS, so does he, but we were a lot closer with the slipstream. We're deploying battery, but Verstappen goes defensive, so we'll go to the outside here a little later on the brakes as well. We get the run out of the corner. That is us up into P5 for now. And we've now got the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc up ahead of us, which we're going to try and chase down this pack of 4 cars all battling away for the lead. Meanwhile, now in lap 7, Russell has closed in on the back of the Ford of Magnussen, but Magnussen going slow, pulls over to the side. He's got some sort of issue. It doesn't look like it's an engine failure. He's still going. He's carrying on. He would have pulled over by now, and it's actually a puncture for the front right wheel there. That is such a shame there for Kevin Magnussen and for Ford. They were having such a good start to the race and to the start of their new journey here in Formula 1. Ricciardo, the other Ford, almost smashes straight into the side of him. That would have been a disaster. But yeah, I'm sure Magnussen will be so disappointed with that. And that promotes actually the Williams of Albon into the points, and Sainz and the other Williams battling away there. So those two battling away to see who can get the first points of the season by the looks of it. Albon at the moment, surprisingly actually beating out Sainz at the moment. You would have thought Sainz would be a bit ahead, but no, these guys actually seeming pretty on par with each other. Meanwhile, up ahead, Russell under attack from Lando Norris. This is the crossover point by the looks of it for the mediums to be quicker than the softs. So Lando going for a move on our teammate, and looks like he will get it done there through turn 4, pushes Russell out wide a bit there, and gets the move into P8. Russell back now down to P9 where he started the Grand Prix. So Russell struggling, but those mediums definitely seeming to be a bit quicker than the softs now on lap 8 of the Grand Prix. And so, how much time will Lando be able to gain now as we all struggle a bit more on these soft compound tyres? At the end of lap 8, though, we are going to come in for the pit stops. At least half of the field's going to come in. The other half, you would imagine, going to come in at the end of lap 9. And I very almost got caught out there. I completely thought that we'd be at the other end of the pit lanes where we normally are. So I luckily, just in time, managed to get the turn in. So it was optimal, but it was very, very close. And we've actually gotten ahead of Charles Leclerc in the pit lane there. You can see Leclerc behind us because he got held up. by Hamilton, I believe, because Hamilton was a bit further down the pit lane. And so that's held him up. We've come out ahead. Tsunoda, out of nowhere, comes around our outside. He's continued on. He's started on the mediums as well, so he gets ahead of us on those warmer tyres. That unfortunately has lost us a bunch of time to Hamilton. And straight away into turn 3, I'm going to try and get back ahead of the Haas, even though we're on cold tyres. And Tsunoda locks up there in the Haas, runs wide. That actually slows down Leclerc, who was trying to get a move done on Verstappen. So they're still side by side. But because of Tsunoda getting in the way, Verstappen's able to defend from the Ferrari. I'm sure Leclerc will be absolutely pissed off at that. But for now, he's just going to have to look for another way to get past at the end of lap 9 here. As I said, we've got the other guys coming into the pit lane. So Gasly comes in from the lead of the race. Fernando Alonso and the other Ferrari also coming into the pit lane. It'll be interesting to see now if the undercut or the overcut was the better strategy to go with here. Neither of these guys getting held up, so they will exit the pit lane in the same order that they entered. They were just that far ahead that no midfield cars were able to really block them in. Lando Norris, obviously, on the mediums, is going to continue on for a bit longer, so he takes, for now, the lead of the race. Carlos Sainz also started on the mediums, and so he, for now, is into P2, but he's not that far ahead of Pierre Gasly and Alonso, and so could very quickly become a bit of an obstacle for those guys if he is a bit slow, which that Williams isn't a top car just yet. It is in the midfield still, where we left it at the end of Season 2, and, yeah, he could very quickly get in the way of the front guys. Now, on lap number 10, Yuki Tsunoda under attack from Verstappen, who is still stuck behind him. You can see this has allowed us to pull about 3 seconds to those guys behind us. So Tsunoda, a massive roadblock at the moment. Verstappen is through. Leclerc, unable to get through just yet. He looks, but the road closes for him there, and Leclerc actually unable to go for a dive here into the braking zone, so he's going to have to sit behind a little bit longer as we cut a lap forward. It's now 3 seconds to Verstappen, and so Leclerc has lost a whole bunch of time. Tsunoda, a massive roadblock, and Leclerc hasn't even got the move done yet. They're going to go side by side into the chicane. Tsunoda fighting is very hard for some reason. I'm not too sure why. Leclerc around the outside there gets the move done in the end, but that is a massive amount of damage there for Leclerc to now be 3.5-ish seconds off of Verstappen. So he's got a lot of work to do. Verstappen also going to try and close in on us. And as I said, the roadblock has begun here. Carlos Sainz has slowed down Gasly. Gasly going for a move into turn 1. Isn't actually able to get it done. Sainz defends. And that allows Fernando Alonso through into the lead of the race. The effective lead, that is, once Norris and Sainz come into the pit lane. Because they still have to pit. And so effectively, Sainz has now changed the way of the race. He's got Fernando Alonso into the lead. Gasly won't be happy about that as we now cut to the end, not the end, but about halfway through lap 12. Alonso all over the back of the Williams. He's going to go for a move with the DRS here to the outside here, and he should be able to get the move done quite easily in that Ferrari, a lot better than the Williams. He goes around the outside, gets the move done into P2, and again, what will be the lead once Lando comes into the pit lane. And just look at this, you can already see the gap that Fernando is able to pull, because that Ferrari is so much better than Williams. Not even just the Ferrari, but this whole pack of cars is so much quicker than the Williams, but he's just holding everyone up. And so as we now head on to lap 13, Gasly is again going to try and go for a move on Carlos Sainz, again to the inside though. So is Sainz going to defend again, or is he going to actually just let the Red Bull through? He's going to try and hold it. That slows Gasly down again. Hamilton now gets through on the Red Bull. I'm also going to take the opportunity to go through. And so Gasly lost so many positions because of Carlos here. We're also going to try and go for a move on Hamilton, but Hamilton dives it on the Williams, goes alongside through turn 4 now around the outside. We hold on to the move on Gasly. Sainz goes slow, so we'll go through now on Carlos Sainz into what will be P3. Gasly still stuck behind the Williams, goes to the inside here at the end of the first sector, gets the move done as Sainz runs wide and actually off track there, so he's lost a bunch of time. But now Verstappen all over the back of his teammate, looking to potentially get a move for P5 and what will be P4. He's going to pull alongside here, and is Gasly going to lose out to now his teammate? That is so annoying there for the Frenchman, looking to have such a good race, held the lead after starting from pole position on his return to Red Bull, and is now under attack from Verstappen. Verstappen will go to the outside in a similar move to what we saw Alonso pull on Sainz just a lap ago, and he is going to get the move done there. And so in the space of pretty much a lap and a half, Gasly has gone from the effective lead to what will be effective 5th once Lando comes into the pit lane. That is so annoying there for Pierre Gasly. I'm sure he will be absolutely furious behind the wheel at the moment. Meanwhile, up ahead, we're going to go for a move on Lewis Hamilton in the McLaren there. We fly past him into turn 1. He tries to come back at us into turn 2. But for now, we get ourselves into what will be second place. And a very, very good position for us at the moment here at our home Grand Prix. Cutting forward a lap now. Hamilton, though, looking to come back at us. We've got Norris, who has just come into the pit lane, so we are now properly up into P2, into our position. Alonso, 3 seconds up the road now, is officially into the lead of the race. And Lewis Hamilton still actually not that far behind us. We'll go for an order check here now, though, on lap 15. Alonso leading the way by now 3.5 seconds. And so on his return to Ferrari, I don't think he could have hoped for a much better race at the moment. It is in ourselves in P2 ahead of Lewis Hamilton in P3, who is still all over the back of us trying to get himself into a better podium spot. Then Verstappen in P4 ahead of Gasly, who, as I just said, will be absolutely furious in that Red Bull down now in P5 when he should have really been leading the race. Probably had the pace to win as well, but he's got a lot of work ahead of him to do if he wants to do that. Leclerc down in P6 in the other Ferrari. Lando Norris in P7 on a fresher set of hard tyres, so his pace should be a bit quicker than the rest of us. We'll see how that plays out. Ocon in P8, Russell still down in P9, struggling, and Albon rounding out the points there. It'd be nice to see the Williams guys still able to score points even without ourselves there, so nice to see our former teammate in P10 at the moment. Then looking through the rest of the field for now, we've got Perez in the Alpine in P11, then the two Fords of Ricciardo and Magnussen in P12 and 13, and as I said, that is such a shame there for Magnussen to be so far down the order. He really should have been up in the points, but as we now cut to lap 16, we are under attack from the McLaren, heading down towards turn 3. He's going to look to the outside. Is Hamilton going to be able to hold the move? We try and hold the inside there. We'll have the outside for turn 4, but we're going to get out on that curb. They just slightly lose the rear a little bit. That gives Hamilton enough traction to sweep around there outside there of turn 5, and for now, we are relegated back down to P3, the bottom step of the podium. As we now head on to the back straight, we saw what we can do here on this back straight. We've got some good straight line speed around Albert Park Circuit. So in the slipstream, we're using ERS. I actually didn't realize it wasn't enabled. I thought I did enable it. So we enable it about halfway down the straight, and immediately we pull up alongside Lewis Hamilton. Around the outside of the first part of the chicane, we'll have the inside for the second part. Hamilton ends up back in behind us there. He has a poor run, so that allows Verstappen to pull up alongside there and get ahead of the McLaren into P3. So Hamilton now off the podium, and Gasly on the back of this train now as well. So we've got a four-way battle for second place, which is so awesome to see. As I said, the field closing up in performance, and that is just creating some incredible races here in Season 3, and the battle is far from over because we've got a charging Verstappen right on the back of us as we head around the last corner. He makes a mistake though, and so that allows Lewis Hamilton to come back at him here for third place. They're going to head side by side down towards turn 1. They both got DRS, so it's an even race down towards the corner. Hamilton on the inside, they make a little bit of contact. Verstappen holds on. Gasly slips through into P4. Hamilton's now down to P5. Gasly trying to get a move done on his teammate. I'm sure using the anger that he's got to try and make some overtakes here, but unable to get the move done on Verstappen for now, and he's just going to have to bide his time if he wants to make a move on the reigning world champion. Meanwhile, a bit further back now on lap 17, it's an engine failure for Sergio Perez as he was right down the bottom of the field anyway, so nothing major was really going to happen for him. He retires from the Australian Grand Prix. And now onto lap 20, looking back at the Fords, it's going to be an engine failure for Kevin Magnussen as well now. So his bad day turns worse. He went from looking good to get points in Ford's first race of the season and first race back in F1 to then being outside the points trying to get back in. And now it's just completely over here on lap 20 with an engine failure. That is such a shame there for those guys. They were having such a good race before everything just started going wrong by no fault of their own there. As we now head on to lap 22, we are under attack from Max Verstappen. He looks to the outside of turn 3. We'll have the outside of turn 4, similar to the battle we had with Hamilton, but this time out, are we going to be able to hold the position? We stay side by side. He sweeps around the outside. We're going to keep going side by side here as we head into the second sector. This is bunching everyone up behind us. This has allowed Lando Norris to close in on this battle as we still go side by side now down the back straight. It should be a relatively even battle because neither of us have slipstream. Gasly tries to get his nose in there before he runs out of track. As I said, looking for every opportunity to try and move up the field. We're going to keep going side by side all the way up the back straight into the chicane now. We'll go side by side as well. We're around the outside of the first pit. We get the move done. Get the move done more so defending from Verstappen as Hamilton now getting himself through on Pierre Gasly. We've also got Lando Norris looking to find a way through as well. We're still side by side with Verstappen as he comes back at us. We hold on to P2. Hamilton unable to get the move done on Gasly, but Lando Norris somehow, I didn't even see it, but he somehow found his way through on Charles Leclerc to get himself into P6. So this is, look at this massive train of cars all battling away from the podium. This is just so awesome to see as we go now on to lap 24. Not long left in this Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly under attack from Lewis Hamilton. He makes a mistake, slightly gets on the grass, taps the wall, and breaks his front wing. And so, an error there from Gasly that is going to ruin his race. Lando now trying to make a move, actually slides and allows Gasly back into P5. but Gasly is going to have to come into the pit lane, and that is pretty much his race over and out there. He's going to drop right down and out of the points because he has going to have to do that extra pit stop, change his front wing, and I feel so bad for Pierre Gasly. He got it on pole on his return to Red Bull, was leading the race, and then it's just all gone wrong for him there. It all started with closing up on Carlos Sainz on an alternate strategy, lost a bunch of positions, and now has just slightly lost his cool under pressure and ends up out of the points. Hamilton now, though, re-attacking Max Verstappen on lap 26. Unable to get the move done, though, and those guys battling fiercely for that final spot on the podium as we've been able to pull a bit of a gap with these guys battling away with each other. And so we are pretty securely into P2 now as we cut to the last lap of the Grand Prix, looking a bit down the field towards Pierre Gasly. Who is it but Carlos Sainz in front of him? Sainz locks up and runs wide. They're going to go side by side with each other now. I'm sure Gasly, this is a pretty personal move for himself just to get back ahead of that Williams as they head into turn 3. Sainz putting up such a battle though, because Gasly could have potentially gone for points, but Sainz is massively holding up the Red Bull. Gasly gets it done, so I don't know what Sainz's issue is with Pierre Gasly, but Gasly's now way too far back to try going for a move on Daniel Ricciardo, but looking to the lead now. Fernando Alonso is around to the final corner and will win the Australian Grand Prix. It's the dream return to Ferrari there for the two-time world champion, looking for his third here at Ferrari. And for ourselves, we finally finish our home Grand Prix, and it's a great race to finish in P2 and on the podium here in Australia.
Top job, my friend, top job. I was a bit worried about this one at the start of the weekend, but you pulled through. Thank you very much.
A great race then, and a fantastic victory here at Albert Park. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out of the track was: speed. It sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
So here we are with the results for the Australian Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso taking a dominant victory, 11.5 seconds over ourselves, finishing in P2. Verstappen rounds out the podium there, the reigning world champion, doing well to finish in third. Hamilton in P4 ahead of Lando Norris in P5, so a good race there to start the season for McLaren. Leclerc won't be too happy with a P6, I imagine. Russell right down in P7 has to sort of have a bit of a think about why he was so far down the order and just off the pace all weekend. Ocon in P8, Albon doing well there in the Williams to get P9. Good to see those guys still capable of scoring points. And Ricciardo rounding out the top 10, scores Ford's first points in their return to Formula 1. Gasly ends up down in P11. I doubt he'll be very happy with just how the entire race played out for himself. In terms of the driver standings, obviously, it's just where everyone finished being the first round of the season. For the constructors, though, Ferrari lead the way there, 9 points ahead of ourselves at Mercedes. McLaren in P3, Red Bull in P4, Alpine 5th place, Williams in 6th, where they actually finished in the constructors last season, and then Ford in P7, rounding out the points finishes so far in the constructors' standings. So, in a very exciting first round of the Grand Prix. If the entire season is like this, then this could be probably the most exciting season I think I've ever had in an F1 game, because that was something special at the Australian Grand Prix. I really hope we can have more races like that in the future, but that was all for this video, guys. The next round will be at China for round 2 of the season. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.